Bob Dole's Nightmare of Depravity, The Secrets of the Renaissance Weekend, and the folksy charm of Phil Graham. These are all topics of a discussion in a new book by Al Franken. The title is Rush Limbaugh is a Big Fat Idiot and Other Observations. Al is best known for his work on Saturday Night Live, winning 5 Emmys as a writer and producer. But in a political climate ripe for satire, he is focusing his attention on the Republican right, and I am pleased to have him on this broadcast. Welcome.
Oh, I watch the show all the time. My mom watches it all the time, and she asked me to bring you something. She said, get him some coasters, because she worries about your table.
She should.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
look at this.
Yes, it says, I don't know if we can see this.
Oh, my God, look at this here.
Yes.
I got a little photograph of a big fat idiot.
No.
Rush Limbaugh is a big fat idiot.
I just want you to use these for the life of the
have
show.
you given some of these to...
this is it. I made these up.
Oh, I see.
For this show.
Now, a couple of things. One, you were going to appear here earlier, and all of a sudden you canceled me.
I did. What happened was, it was when the Stuart Saves His Family, a movie I'm very, very proud of, that we received 2 thumbs up from Siskel and Ebert from, and it was a really good movie. It ate it so bad that I was scheduled to be here as we were tanking and we were leaving the theaters, and I was I just didn't want to, I wanted to be able to come on your show on a high note.
My
which
God,
fortunately...
You have it here.
Yes.
2 weeks from now, New York Times bestseller list number 4.
4.
All right. Tell me about the book and the idea for the book and what it is and the title of the book.
Yes. That's the first thing I came up with. Rush Limbaugh's
title.
Yes. They asked me to do a political book at Delacorte, and I thought of the name. Rush Limbaugh's a Big Fat Idiot and Other Observations, and then I took about a month off because I felt like I had a bestseller.
Right there. Yeah. You need not write a word. It was going to be a bestseller.
Yeah, and then when I came back, they said, you have to write about it legally in order to title the book. I said, I know that. So then I started listening to him, and I had listened. I was familiar with Rush. And at this time, of course, the Republican Revolution, they had won, taken over Congress in '84. He was the majority maker.
And they made him an honorary member of the class of '94.
They did. So and that's very fitting. He belongs to that class, or the class belongs to him or something.
Oh, they deserve each other,
yes.
Whatever you would say.
And, I was familiar with him. I remember the first time that I had heard him, I was listening on the radio, and he was talking about feminazis and their women as victim ideas, and how feminists believe that all heterosexual sex is rape. And the thing is, that is a very hard belief to defend, but the thing is, I know a lot of women, almost all of whom consider themselves feminists, and only one holds that belief, and we've been married nearly 20 years. So I was thinking, who is this guy?
Yes.
And then since subsequent, I've been watched this TV show, and he's just been a bully for years, and he seems to be had been getting away with it, and I just felt compelled to use him as a way of talking about not just him, but Gingrich and the entire Republican right. I use a lot of techniques that GOPAC perfected. Gingrich's Political Action Committee was go negative early. This is what they sent to their candidates. Never back off. Don't try to educate. That's a Newt Gingrich instruction from the guy who calls himself a teacher.
This is the reason they had a revolution that was successful in 1994.
And what's the other one? Oh, yes. Use small details to demonize your opponent. So I use...
the best sense of American politics.
Yes. And so, in a way, the title is really a high-minded satire of the breakdown in the discourse, and the civility of discourse in American politics.
Now look at the index here. This is too much. As you go through the index, everything is related to Limbaugh's size. I'm now on page 265. Ailes, Roger, producer Limbaugh, but you've got here fat like Limbaugh. You've got blimp, Limbaugh's size of.
See also dirigible.
See also dirigible. Under dirigible, you have Limbaugh's size of. Under eating, you have Limbaugh's inability to stop.
And then
under
has
fat,
page
Limbaugh as. Now, why?
3 through 7. Why? Oh, well, that's...
I always thought that this was something that was limited to people taking note of people's physical characteristics, was limited to theater critics.
Well, I don't go after... to me, there's nothing funnier in comedy than gratuitousness. And at a certain point, I make so many fat jokes that it just becomes funny. And listen, no one, is more sensitive to overeating than the guy who created the tremendously successful character of Stuart Smalley.
That's true.
And he's a man who makes ad hominem attacks about other people. Yeah. So I felt that not only is he a bully, but he's a thin-skinned bully. He doesn't like to be attacked.
Why do you think he's so very successful?
Well, I think he's talented. I think he does. He's good at framing issues. He also is a propagandist and a demagogue. One of the interesting things I found during doing my research, and this is very meticulously researched, is the Annenberg School did this study during the healthcare debate on how people get their news. And they followed, some people get it from newspapers primarily, some people get it from TV news, and some people get it primarily from talk radio, and most of those people get it from Limbaugh. They asked all these groups of people how well informed they felt they were. And of all the groups, the people who got their news primarily from talk radio, and that was primarily from Rush, said that they were the best informed. Well, then, of course, they tested these people with objective questions about health care. For example, they'd ask the question, which of these groups is less likely to be covered, have health insurance? Poor, working class, the elderly. The Limbaugh listeners were highly likely to answer wrongly, and well, they were highly likely to answer something like the elderly, who, of course, are covered by Medicare. So I asked the woman who conducted this study, I said, now how is that possible that the people who feel that they are the best informed are in fact the least informed? And she said there's a social scientist term for it called pseudo-certainty. And I said, I call it...
You said, what is pseudo-certainty?
Well, I know what it is, but I call it being a friggin' moron.
All right, Colin Powell, you say. The whole Colin Powell phenomenon has led me to one conclusion. The first Jew to be elected president will have to be a four-star general. Unfortunately, it turns out that the highest-ranking Jew in the armed forces right now is...
the comptroller of the Coast Guard.
Tell me about it. I just go there. Bob Dole.
Oh, this is great. Bob Dole, the thing from the back is, yeah. I went to the Pro conference. I actually did some traveling around, and all the presidential candidates spoke to the Pro people, sort of pandering to Perot and kissing the ring. And he was sort of, they don't like, the Pro people do not like Dole because he represents the Washington establishment.
They love Buchanan.
Buchanan at the Pro conference, I counted 6 standing ovations for him, and it's very hard to count when you're cowering under your seat. But they don't like Dole, and Dole kind of knew it. So he started, and so he, in a way, was the least craven in his speech. And so he started off by saying, the federal government does some good things, which they didn't want to hear. And at one point he said this great thing. He said, now, I may not be perfect. And I knew that was in his script, but then he added this, maybe all of you are. He just couldn't help himself. And then he was talking about how he's been tested, about how it's sort of his turn. And he was saying, I've been tested, and I've been tested, and I've been tested. But it sounded to me like he was saying, I've been testy, and I've been testy, and I've been tested.
It's true. It's true. It's like the debate the other day when he was in the debate and he wanted to make a reference. He couldn't resist a reference to the fact that Senator Graham proudly makes...
I flunked the 3rd, 9th, or 7th and 9th grade, but a mother's dream never dies.
Well, I think this is admirable.
Yeah, well,
he's got a PhD from...
A PhD.
Texas A&M.
From Texas A&M.
That's much to be admired.
It certainly is, and God bless him.
All right, now let me take Arianna Huffington.
Yes.
A writer, has become a part of the revolution. Very close to the speaker.
Very close to Newt, yeah.
Yeah. Is unhappy with this program for something about weren't able to include all the things she'd said because we ran into a time factor.
Don't do that with me.
You were on Politically Incorrect. Now, set up your relationship with
I met Arianna at the
Huffington.
White House Correspondents' Dinner this year. We sat next to each other. I was a guest of the Washington Times, a conservative Mooney paper. And
You were the guest of the Washington Times?
yes, because I met Josette Shiner, who's the managing editor at the Renaissance Weekend, and I'm a people person. I get along with everybody. So, so Ariana and I sort of have become friends, and we call each other a lot. And I really like her because you can give her guff.
And she takes it and smiles and gives back.
And she takes it, yeah.
Yeah.
So we got in this thing last night on the
All right, this is from last night's Politically Incorrect. Take a look. Among the people there, you will see Ron Silver, Al Franken, Ariana Huffington, and
Jerry Brown.
And Jerry Brown, former governor, and Bill Maher is the host of the program. Roll tape. This is Al's take on Ariana Huffington last night after the State of the Union.
Yes.
Here it is.
We were at my book party, and Ariana and I, Ariana said that we were going to be on Politically Incorrect together. So I said, Ariana, I'm warning you, I'm going to go for your throat. And she said, oh, that's okay, you can go for my throat.
So she's not a Gabor sister.
Yeah, well, that's my impression of Ariana. Anyways, you have to live with it.
Keep improving.
Then my back was hurting, and Ariana said, you must go to my Dr. Kai, who is magic. And I will give you his number at the hotel. And so the next day, I was too busy to go see Dr. Kai, and I got back at 8:30, and at 8:30, I get a call from an older woman who says, this is Nancy. I am one of Mrs. Huffington's assistants, and she would like to know when Dr. Kai can come to the hotel tomorrow to work on you. And I said, well, I got a busy day tomorrow. I'm not sure I can fit it. It would make Mrs. Huffington very happy. So I said, okay, I guess 1 o'clock I could do it. Oh, that would make her very happy. I said, he will need about an hour to an hour and a half. I said, now, I didn't bring a lot of cash to Washington. How much does Dr. Kai... Oh, no. This is Mrs. Huffington's New Year's gift to you. So I said, oh, I can't do that. I can't take that. It would make Mrs. Huffington very happy. So I said, okay. Well, that's very gracious of Mrs. Huffington. Thank her for me. Oh, she's right here. And Ariana gets on the phone, and she says, Al, I'm so happy that you are seeing Dr. Kai. He's magic. And I said, well, Ariana, you're making it hard for me to go for your throat. I'm politically incorrect. She says, no, why? I said, well, you're being so nice to me. Oh, no, you can go for my throat. So, Ariana, how's your illegal alien nanny?
How's your illegal alien
nanny?
Who
lost the election for her husband, which he spent $40 million on.
Yeah, wait, he spends most of his time in California, does he? Or
no, I think they're both in Washington most of the time.
And she's a player.
She certainly is.
Very close to the speaker. In fact, wanted the speaker to run for president, I think.
She did.
And had some conflict with
she actually introduced me to the speaker.
Really?
At the White House Correspondents'
Dinner. Is this a fast
dinner.
friendship?
Me and the speaker?
Mm-hmm.
No. No, it's pretty interesting. I was going out in the hallway. We had been sitting together, but we'd separated, and she sees me and goes, Al, you must meet this. She's with Newt. You must meet the speaker. So I do the best I try to be polite. I say, it's an honor to meet the Speaker of the House. And he says, you guys really helped us out at the end of the 100 days. And what we was talking about, Chris Farley from Saturday Night Live had come down and done something for the Republican caucus, something NBC had cooked up. And I said, well, and I just said very pointedly, I had nothing to do with that.
And wouldn't have if asked.
And he said, I was asked. And and he said, he was kind of confused by that and said, no, it was really great. I was totally caught by surprise, and it was really terrific. I went, yeah, I had nothing to do with that. And then I said, why am I being a jerk? I said, but Chris came back, and he was talked about nothing else the whole week, and it was great. And then I thought, why am I sucking up to him? So then I said, can I ask you something? You're not supposed to talk about politics at the correspondence dinner, but how often am I going to get to talk to the speaker? So I said to him, I'm a little worried about something, sending everything back to the states. I believe in the market system, and I think what's going to happen is that you're going to have a situation where the states are competing with each other to drive their poor out by lowering benefits. And he said, what's wrong with that? And he wasn't joking, and he wasn't being provocative.
And it's not to be laughed at. But
And it's not to be laughed at. And at that moment, I was going to say something, but Dennis Hopper came into the group and said, "You, sir, are a great man." And he wasn't talking to me. He was talking to Newt. And then Newt said, "I love Blue Velvet. Your performance was so intense." And I kind of thought I was in Blue Velvet for a second there.
This is great.
So.
And so he and Dennis are fast. They really are fast friends now.
I don't know.
All right. Rush Limbaugh's a big fat idiot, and other observations. Al Franken. Tomorrow night, Senator Bill Bradley and the Foreign Minister of Israel, Ehud Barak. See you then.